Welcome back, friends. You are listening to the Juicebox Podcast. Laura is a returning guest. She was originally on episode 982, which is called From a Small Rock. She's 24 years old. She has type 1 diabetes. And about a year after she had trained to be a lifeguard, she happened upon a man on the street who was having a low blood sugar emergency, and she saved him with her Glucagon. Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. If you are the caregiver of someone with type 1 diabetes or have type 1 yourself, please go to t1dexchange.org/juicebox and complete the survey. This should take you about 10 minutes and will really help type 1 diabetes research. You can help right from your house at t1dexchange.org/juicebox. When you place your first order for AG1 with my link, you'll get 5 free travel packs and a free year's supply of vitamin D. Drink AG1.com/juicebox. Today's podcast is sponsored by Touched by Type 1. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and at touchedbytype1.org. If you're looking for an organization who's helping people with type 1 diabetes, you're looking for Touched by Type 1. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Dexcom. Dexcom.com/juicebox. Get the brand new Dexcom G7 with my link and get started today. Today's episode is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes, a company who's working to make the invisible visible through their Blue Balloon Challenge. Life with diabetes is like doing everything in life while trying to keep a balloon in the air. The blue balloon is a powerful metaphor for the daily struggles that those living with diabetes go through. Medtronic invites you to join the challenge by taking a video of yourself balancing a balloon while doing something in your everyday life. Post your challenge on social media with the hashtag Blue Balloon Challenge and follow at Medtronic Diabetes on Instagram to see other Blue Balloon Challenge videos.
Good morning. I'm Laura. I am about 24 now, I do believe, and I live now in Utah.
24.
So, pretty nice.
Utah.
And I'm not from Utah. I'm from a Caribbean island.
Yeah, you don't sound like you're from Utah.
No, not from Utah at all. Just moved here, actually.
What brought you?
I do have a nice, good ending story about Glucagon and the use of Glucagon in the middle of just the street. So,
oh, okay. We'll get to that then. Hey, you've been on the podcast before?
Yes, I have. I think we recorded about 2 years ago and it came out last year in August.
Do you know the number of it?
862, I believe. I might have to double check on that.
Do you remember what I called it?
Yes, From a Small Rock.
From a Small Rock. It's not 862 then. Hold on a second.
No, I don't remember then.
I'll find it. 982.
982.
Isn't that something? From a Small Rock. Laura has type 1 diabetes and was diagnosed while in school.
Yep, that was me.
Look at you. And now you're back. But you're back because you have a Glucagon experience that you're going to share with me.
Yes, I heard another episode a few months ago, and you were saying that you were wanting to hear more stories about how or when people used Glucagon. So
good. I'm glad. Well, I definitely do.
An appointment.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
So let's remind people a little bit about you. How old are you when you were diagnosed, that kind of stuff?
So I was 17 minus 2 days. So I spent my 17th birthday in the hospital. That was fun. I was in high school. I was a big swimmer, swimming about 20 to 25 hours a week. No family history at all, of nothing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was diagnosed basically by my high school nurse, who decided to just do a random blood test when my mom told her that I was not feeling too well. And I was at 457. So she told me that I was not going into math class. I was actually going to the ER. So that was fun.
Wow. Your school nurse was just like, here, I'm going to poke your finger and check you with a meter?
She had, it was a huge high school. We were about 1,200 students. So she had a few type 1s already in the school. And my mom My mom's actually a physical therapist, and my high school nurse was one of her patients prior to that. So she just called her and said, hey, like, there's something wrong with Laura. And it's like, well, have her come by the office before lunch and we'll check her sugar. And I never left. So
Boy,
went straight to the ER after that.
So they're just kind of friendly and they have a little bit of professional courtesy with each other, and she just helped her out.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Basically. Well, she kind of saved my life because 2 days before I saw my primary care, and she's like, yeah, well, it's fine. You're young and you're swimming a lot. So we'll just do a sugar-free diet for a month, when my blood sugar was already 322 after a full night.
Yeah.
And she did not even...
That's a significant misunderstanding of the situation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was pretty bad, yes. But yeah, so that nurse saved my life at some point.
Isn't that great? Really, that's really lovely. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
This is kind of, I don't know, fun's the wrong word, but you have a glucagon story that involves your glucagon, but it doesn't involve you having a low blood sugar.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't. So it was back in 2018. So that was exactly 1 year after I got diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from a Caribbean island, and there is a sailing race that leaves France and that arrives on that island in Guadeloupe, called the Route of the Rum. And I was doing an internship at the marina. So that's exactly where all of the boats were parked at the end of the race. And it was for, a week or 10 days. It was a lot of people and just having fun and looking at boats and stuff. And so I was there for a few weeks for my internship. Everything was doing well. And at the same time, I was also practicing or taking tests to become a lifeguard. And 5 days prior to that day that I had to use my glucagon, I actually finished all of my lifeguard courses. So everything was fresh in my mind, what to do when helping someone that we don't know in the middle of the street. So that was actually very, very helpful.
Helpful, because you had to kind of jump into action when you saw something. Tell me what you saw. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Medtronic Diabetes. And this is Aaron.
My name is Aaron Suchitori. I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. I was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was about 1.5 years old, and I'm 25 years old today.
Who helps you keep your balloon in the air?
Gone through this journey together with my mom, who's been type 1 diabetic for most of her life as well.
What else have you found supportive?
Having really great friends and support systems in school. I was very lucky. I had some great roommates, especially my freshman year. We talked for like 3 hours. I was explaining every little thing. You hear this beep, it means this. There'd be times where he would wake me up in the middle of the night to make sure I was okay.
How did it feel when people knew how to use your Medtronic technology?
Great to know that I had people that had my back.
Medtronic Diabetes is making the invisible visible through their Blue Balloon Challenge. Life with diabetes is, of course, like doing everything in life while trying to keep a balloon in the air. The blue balloon is a powerful metaphor for the daily struggles that those living with diabetes go through. Medtronic invites you to join the challenge by taking a video of yourself balancing a balloon while doing something in your everyday life. Post your video on social media with the hashtag Blue Balloon Challenge and follow at Medtronic Diabetes on Instagram to see other Blue Balloon Challenge videos. You can manage diabetes confidently with the powerfully simple Dexcom G7. Dexcom.com/juicebox. The Dexcom G7 is the CGM that my daughter is wearing. The G7 is a simple CGM system that delivers real-time glucose numbers to your smartphone or smartwatch. The G7 is made for all types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2, but also people experiencing gestational diabetes. The Dexcom G7 can help you spend more time in range, which is proven to lower A1C. The more time you spend in range, the better and healthier you feel. And with the Dexcom Clarity app, you can track your glucose trends, and the app will also provide you with a projected A1C in as little as 2 weeks. If you're looking for clarity around your diabetes, you're looking for Dexcom. Dexcom.com/juicebox. When you use my link, you're supporting the podcast. Dexcom.com/juicebox. Head over there now.
Yeah, so I was supposed to just give out flyers to different restaurants and like buildings around the marina just to let them know of what to expect for the next couple weeks. And on my way to the first restaurant, there was someone just laying on the sidewalk. His friend was right next to him, and he had a Coke, an open Coke in his hand. And I was like, what's going on? Can I help? Like, I'm a trained lifeguard. Like, can I help you? And he's like, well, my friend here, like, he wasn't feeling well. He asked me to go grab him some sugar. And when I came back, he was passed out. I was like, oh, do you know anything about him? I was like, well, yeah, he's got diabetes. I'm like, okay, so if he's passed out, he's got to have type 1. And the friend really didn't have much knowledge of anything. He just said, well, he's got the diabetes. He's got the diabetes. And I came back, he was passed out. So my office was only, I don't know, maybe 200 yards away. And so I was, while talking to the guy, a few people came over and just asked for their help. One of them was also a first responder, but he didn't have anything on him, no materials or anything. He just had his knowledge and himself, basically. Mm-hmm. So I asked him to put that guy on its side so he would be safe so I could run back to my office, grab my meter, grab my glucagon from my bag, and run back to him. I checked his blood sugar, and he was at 0.49, which is not that low.
Okay.
I mean, 2 nights ago, I was at 0.38, and I was fine. But it's not an example. Don't do that. It's not safe. I don't know, 0.49, I was not really shocked. It was just, yeah, he was low, but he was passed out. So the first responder that was here right next to me, he was like, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, well, I've got the glucagon here. Got to get that going. I remember that guy had very thick jeans on. He was pretty on the heavier side, and I couldn't go through his jeans with the needle.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, just lift his shirts up. I'll just do it right in the belly because that's the easiest spot I can access right now. Mm-hmm. So I had that big orange needle at that point. I'm not even sure the nasal spray was a thing at that point. So just, yeah.
I don't think the nasal spray for sure, or the Gvoke HypoPen.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
definitely not, especially not in France at that point. It was, I had the old school couple inches long needle. So I did, it was the first time I used it, was push the liquid in the powder, mix it up, put it back in the needle, and just stabbed him right in the belly and injected everything. And in the meantime, we have like 50 people around wondering what I'm doing to this guy.
and remind everybody too, you've only had diabetes for a year at that point. You're 18 years old.
I was just 18, and I had type 1 for a year. But with all of the knowledge that I had gotten for the past weeks prior with my lifeguard training, I was able to basically assess the situation, move people around, ask for help. Like, you do this, you do that, you make sure that he doesn't move, you make sure to call 911. And because we were in a spot with a lot of pedestrians, we could hear the sirens, but they were not getting any closer. Wow. We knew they were coming, but they were still way too far away to do nothing. So I had to act.
Yeah.
So I did the glucagon shot in his belly and just waited for him to wake up, and it took a while.
I was going to say, how long did it take for him to respond?
It took I don't remember, but it was definitely not within seconds. It took a good 10, maybe 15 minutes for him to fully start waking up, because he started waking up when the first responders got to me.
Mm-hmm. He's not seizing or anything, right? He's just out?
No, yeah, he was completely out.
Okay.
Not seizing anything. So I would just, he was still on his side. And what I had learned was just to basically have them squeeze their hands and say, hey, come on, wake up, squeeze my hands and wake up. Come on, you'll be here. It's okay. Mm-hmm. And just keep talking to him to start waking him up. But it took a while. He was still out when the firefighters got to us, and they took over from here. But the crazy thing was that they didn't have a meter. They got to the guy, and he was passed out. I had told them exactly what had happened when I took the blood sugar, what was the blood sugar, and they just, okay, can you check his sugar again? Because we don't have anything. Really? You're waiting on me, a little nobody, to just check his blood sugar to make sure
Laura,
he's okay?
Apparently the savior of the town.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you test his blood sugar again after you gave him the glucagon?
Yeah, I did. He was in the 100 at that point, so it had gotten better, but he was still out, and he really slowly started coming out of it with the firefighter next to him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it took a good half hour, 45 minutes of him just waking up completely before he could just come back to his senses and be able to talk to us.
Did you get to speak to him?
Yeah, I did. He came back actually a few days later to look for me, but I was off that day, so I didn't get to actually meet him afterwards. But he came back and he wanted to just thank me for what I did. So that was pretty nice. But yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't there when he came back.
What was the conversation like after he woke up? I mean, was he actually able to converse, or was he...
He was pretty out of it, but yeah, he was like, oh, I wasn't feeling good. He remembered asking his friend for some Coke or whatnot. But after that, he was like, I don't know, I just fell.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, so yeah, the firefighters asked me to check his blood sugar. He was completely fine. And the firefighters asked someone around us to go grab a plate of pasta from the first restaurant we could, just to give him some carbs.
Did they take him with, or did he stay on the street when they left?
He stayed. Well, we had brought some like sun covers and chairs and stuff for him to just sit down and relax for a minute. I do believe he did leave with the firefighters to go to the hospital afterwards.
It's interesting. Boy, it's really something. Now, you feel like your lifeguard training, because it had happened so close to this incident, you feel like you had a ton of like self-confidence around this. Do you think you would have? Yeah. Do you think it would have been different for you had you not had the training?
Oh, definitely. The part of the, hey, like squeeze my hands, it's going to be okay. Keep talking to me, and then just keep squeezing him. I was like, I kept just telling his name. I was like, come on, let's get up. It's time to wake up. Come on, we're here. Like, we're helping you. Your friend is here. Everything's going to be okay. All of that, I would not have the confidence to say that, or just even to act. I'm not sure I would be able to actually just jump in action in the middle of nowhere and just not knowing that person.
Right. So. Back then, how did you get your supplies? Like through private insurance?
So France is nice. Everything's covered. So I just go to my endo. She writes me a prescription, and then we have a supplier. At that point, she was coming, just dropping everything off at my house every month.
Okay, so you didn't have to explain, I used my glucagon on a stranger.
No, at that point I had at least 3 or 4 in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And always one on me, always one in the fridge at home, and just one at my mom's, one at my dad's, and just travel with one at a time, every time. So,
I mean, obviously you're a person who has glucagon around, and I mean, those kits aren't available anymore, but you still have some more modern glucagon now?
Now, yes. I actually got the nasal spray. So I got my 3rd one. So now I have one in my backpack, one at home, and one that's always like with my husband or whatnot. But now I switched to the nasal spray, and I've only used the big glucagon once, the big needle. That was the one and only time I've used it.
Did the incident that you just explained, did it impact how you think about anything? Like, did it change your overall understanding of even your own health? Or like, I'm trying to find out if it had any lasting impact on you other than the kind of craziness of the moment.
No, not really. It's just the fact that he was at 0.49 and out, and like some people, like it's just how the body reacts depending on the blood sugar, depending on like 2 different people can have 2 completely different reactions. At 0.49, I could be completely okay. I'm like, well, I'm just low. Let's just grab some candy and be good to go. But obviously for him, that was way too low. Yeah. So I'm thinking he was completely like not managing it correctly. And sometimes when you just run high for too long and get back into range, like I felt low if I was in range because my body was not used to having that much sugar anymore. So I think that may have happened for him. It's just, it got a bit too low and his body was not used to that at all.
I mean, people have explained to me that I could pass out or have a seizure, but I didn't like really think it was going to happen. But like when you actually see it happen to somebody, does it make it like more real?
Not really. No, honestly, I've gotten very, very low a couple of years ago, down to 0.21. And 3 weeks later, I was at 0.20 and I was still functioning.
How does that translate to to American standards? The 049. Trying to think.
Well, it's 49 or in minimals.
Yeah. So you're saying that he was 49 milliliters per deciliter.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to do it for people. So for other people, that'd be 2.7 in millimoles, just so people know. Like I was trying to and that's not, listen, 50, 49, I take your point. Like it's low, but it's interesting. I wonder how maybe accurate your test even was.
I think it was pretty accurate because, so the firefighters asked me to check again. So I had to check a second time. And he had some pasta and I checked again and he was a third time and he was climbing up very quickly. He was in the 180s.
Yeah.
By the time he was basically completely out of it and just completely woken up and past the low phase.
Yeah.
But it was that was the meter I was using every single day. Mm-hmm. So I trusted it. So yeah.
It's crazy, like that you were there and not somebody else who couldn't help.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, especially if EMS was going to eventually arrive and say they didn't have a blood glucose meter.
That's the thing. I was wonder what else would you have done?
Yeah,
and so I still have a picture on my phone of just the day of how it happened, and I have a picture of the firefighter chief that was there and. Once we knew that the guy was going to be okay, he came to me and he was like, hey, thank you for what you did. Have you ever thought about becoming a firefighter? I was like, yeah, but do I need to remind you I have type 1 and you're not allowing me to be an EMT? And he was like, oh, right.
They wouldn't let you there at home
nope.
Where you were living at the time?
Oh. So the year I got diagnosed, I was in senior year of high school and I wanted to become I wanted to go into the Navy, the French Navy. Mm-hmm. And I got rejected because of type 1. Right. And it was exactly the same for them. They wouldn't, physically speaking, they would not have been able to allow me to do that because of diabetes.
Okay.
Now the laws have changed, so it's a bit different. But yeah, in 2017, 2018, I would not have been able to become a firefighter and go in the Navy or some kind of military in France, or even become a cop. World champion a few years ago in judo, the martial art, was French, type 1. World champion. She couldn't become a cop. I was like, that's something that's not not okay here.
Yeah. You would think that, it's pretty modern, especially with CGMs now, right?
Yeah.
Interesting decision, I guess.
But yeah, I think the law has changed a few years ago. So now it's not a definite no. It's more of a case-by-case basis, which is better.
At least they're paying attention to it and letting some people through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
What did you end up doing for a living?
When I finished high school, I did 1 month of university in Guadeloupe, and I said that was not for me. So I moved to Toronto, Canada for 6 months to learn English. After that, I went back home, and I was like, kind of bored. And so I moved to California to be an au pair. And that was in March of 2019. Okay. And I have not left since.
But now you're in Utah. Did the family move?
No. So I did 1 year in California, 1 year in Texas as an au pair. Then I got married. Well, went to university, got married, finished university last December. And then we moved to Utah with my husband. And now we just bought a house a week ago.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
What made you decide that going back to university was actually the right thing now? Did you just feel more mature, ready, or did you have a need?
No, not at all. It's just I needed a visa to stay in the U.S.
You got a degree so you could stay?
Well, mainly I needed a visa to stay. Then, eventually I got the degree from it. But I needed a visa and I was not ready to get married at that point. So told him, I really like you, buddy, but I'm not going to marry you right now. So let's find another way to stay here. So I got another visa, and within those 3.5 years I was in university, we got married.
Interesting. Do you use the degree now or no?
Yeah, kind of. It's I have a bachelor's in geography and French. I completely cheated my way through French. I'm not going to lie.
Is it because you already knew French? You didn't really need to pay attention?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I was fully every single day correcting my French professor.
She must have been a lot of fun.
Oh gosh, she hated me.
How about because you were an au pair for so long? You know how when you work in a bakery, you stop eating sweets? Like when you're an au pair, does that make you want kids or not want kids?
If you ask me, no. If you ask somebody else, they may say yes. But
for you, no, thank you.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I like the freedom of just being able to do what you want on a whim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't really exist when you're raising kids, that's for sure.
You would know something about that.
No. There's a lot of just sitting here going, all right, well, let's all stay alive another day. Yeah.
At that point, it's not just kids. It's kids with diabetes that is mainly scaring me right now.
Oh, really?
It's just, I would hate myself if I had a kid with type 1. Well, at some point would develop type 1 because I know it comes from me.
That's what's holding you back.
If I were to adopt a kid with type 1, completely fine because the kids are already here and someone needs to take care of that kid. So I would be 100% for that. But having a kid on my own, and I know it's on me if the kid has type 1.
You don't want the guilt that would come with it.
Yep. I would really hate myself for that.
What about this guy that stuck with you through the whole university thing and married you eventually? Does he want kids?
He does, yes. So we gave ourselves 5 years since we got married to not think about it because we just think we're a bit too young. And honestly, we don't have the money for that. So yeah, we gave ourselves 5 years and then reassess the situation in 5 years.
Good for you. That's very adult.
Because I mean, I moved here in 2019. I was like, there's no way I'll get married. And 4 years later, I got married. So I know things change. It's just, I cannot think about that right now.
You don't want to rush it. You're very young.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So
is he your age?
He's 2 years older than me.
I was going to say he's definitely older. Because he was mature when you told him to wait 5 years.
Yeah, well, it's not like he really had a choice.
Oh, I see.
Well,
No, I mean, you're so ensorcering, he couldn't possibly say no to you. Is that right?
No, he'd known since day one that I had told him I was not looking for kids. So he knows that. But yeah, it's like there's no way it would happen right now. And we need to be in a different situation. So if the situation arrives at some point where we have, well, now we just got a house. And once we have the financials in order, things will change and might be getting better at some point. And I don't know, genetics is going to be better.
Who knows?
Health insurance is going to be better. Right. Hopefully, knock on wood. So
that would be, well, good for you. I like that you're taking your time. I just talked to some younger people. Oh my God, I sound like I'm 95 years old. I spoke to some young folks the other day. What am I, running for office? I was standing around with some people who were in their 20s and they were asking questions about being a parent. And I was like, you will never be like ready for how much it costs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a massive amount of money. It never stops. And you're going to think about it 24/7. So, and college is like, if you're going to send your kids to college one day, like, I mean, hopefully it's different 18 years from now, but right now it's massively expensive. Even for the most inexpensive education is still incredibly expensive, you know?
Oh yeah, I know. I went through that not so long ago. So yeah, I remember making these payments in August and January of just, well, now I got to eat rice and beans for a couple of weeks because I ain't going to buy anything else.
Yeah, all the money's gone. I just sent it off to the French and geography degree that I got. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
good. No, I do use my geography degree a bit now because I am working for a solar panel company and I'm doing a lot of scheduling. So it's a lot of where do you live and where is the crew around you and how to make them get to your house on time.
A little helpful.
So
it's not bad.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, should I be getting solar panels? Should we be getting solar panels or is it only financially viable for some people?
Well, there are multiple. Honestly, I'm part of the end of the process on the chain for solar panels. But once it gets to me, it is fully 100% useful. Unless you cannot pay for it, which
would make it harder.
Should have been,
well,
thought about earlier.
You just bought a house. Are you going to put solar panels on it?
That's the plan, yeah.
Oh.
We have a house and a detached garage, and the goal would be to put it on the detached garage because it's not visible from the street, so it's less of an eyesore.
Mm-hmm.
But first, we need to get a new roof on it. So that's another like few $1,000s to spend before we can get the panels on.
What's it cost to put the panels up?
It depends on how many panels you want, on if your roof may need some structural upgrades, if what type of panels you're getting, if you're paying cash or if you'll need financing. It depends on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But I've seen some like this week. I have a crew down in Orlando, Florida, installing 76 panels on the roof.
Jeez.
And that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big week-long job.
Will they make their money back? And how long does it take people to recoup their investment?
Oh, that's a good idea. I have no idea. Like we saw some people have only a power bill of, I don't know, $80, $90 a month.
Right.
So that the panels would cover 100% or even more sometimes. Sometimes the family or the owners make more money than they spend, which is nice for them. But I've seen one today, their power bill was almost $1,500 a month. And I'm wondering what they're running in their house because that's a lot of money.
Yeah, they're growing weed in the basement for sure. And those lights are just running and running. I hear what you're saying. So, or a big property, perhaps.
I just got a screenshot of the electricity bill and I was like, whoa, I need to Google that house. Give me the address. And I was not able to get to that, but...
Wow, $1,500 a month for electricity in a home.
One of my crews has installed panels on a horse barn, and it was, about 60 panels, I think, but it was just a flat roof that was just waiting to create power because it was here already. Mm-hmm. So it's just, for some people, it's useful, especially if they live in a state that has a lot of sun. Some others decide to get panels. I'm like, I don't know if that would make sense in your situation, but
because if you're having cloudy days, then you're not going to really get the electric you need.
The designers at the beginning of the process to get panels they have a specific site, I guess, that will give them the annual sun exposure for the house in itself, and basically each side of the roof has a different exposure to the sun, so they are able to determine where would the panels be to get the most sunlight and how many panels they would need in order to have closer to a 100% offset.
Jeez.
So it's kind of shitty fun. It's a fun process.
It sounds like it, but could solar panels cost somebody $10,000? Could they cost them $50,000? Like, how does it fall?
Oh, it goes from 10, 15 for like a normal sized house to I've seen one $120,000 and it was just crazy. I'm like, why
are you doing that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I mean, listen, if I'm paying $1,500 a month for electricity and I got to pay $20,000 for the panels, then I get my money back pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
But if I got to pay $60 and my electric bill's $400, I mean, that's going to take.
I know. And most people through financing, they have, they finance it for closer to 25 years.
Really?
So in the end, per month, it's, I don't know, it could be $120 a month. So it's cheaper per month than their electricity bill.
But
they still have to pay that for 20 years.
20 years.
For 25 years.
I see. Oh, I do see. So they stretch it out so far that it doesn't cost anything in the moment, and the hope is that you save so much money that you cover the interest when it's over.
Yep.
Oh, so okay. So if I was paying $200 a month for it, and I was paying for 25 years, is that what you just said?
Most of them are 25 years.
300 payments at $200 a piece is $60,000. Oh no, I never thought it. So can you get low interest loans for solar panels?
Our company uses different loaners basically, and that they have different, like some have basically an 18 months delay. So the first 18 months, they don't pay for their panels. They only start paying it after the 18th month, after the installation. So that just gives them some time to recuperate from the whole thing.
Interesting.
And then they start paying in 18 months later. But it really depends on the on the financing that they decide to use, but some pay cash and then they're good to go.
Okay. I'm gonna listen. I'm old, so you just said a loan term that I don't know that I'll outlive. I was like, so I'll be 83 when I pay for my solar panels. I don't. Okay. I think we're gonna move, so I wouldn't want to do it here.
I know where you live. I know the state where you live, and we are not in that state. So depending where you move, we might, if it's a new state, we might be in there.
All right. I'll let you know. I'm going to move somewhere that doesn't have harsh state taxes like the state I live in right now.
That's actually getting better.
Yeah. Trust me, I'll save more money leaving this state than I will by getting solar panels ever in my life. My electric bill's been going up and up and up over the last 18 months.
But you're having less and less people at home.
Yeah, I did buy a Chameleon though, and it has a light on it. Do you think that's worth $100 a month in electricity? I don't think so, right?
Were you able to find a name to your?
I ended up calling. Yes, I did name them. So there's two, and I named the male Durbin, which is after the guy who bred him, and because that man, this is very boring for people, but that man bred a type of chameleon that is very difficult to breed. He did it for years and he's stopping. And I thought it was kind of respectful to name it after him because I don't think he's going to breed anymore after that.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one I called Big Mama. So
I remember when you were asking people on the Facebook group for some names and everything was type 1 related. And in the end, you just didn't even go that route.
What am I going to do? I'm going to call it Chameleon Bolus. I don't
know. Why not?
Can I be clear, Laura? I don't think a chameleon needs a name. So, I'm not talking to them. They're not answering me. They certainly don't hear the name and go, "Ooh, I think he's talking to me." It's just so that you can refer to them as something. And so I usually just refer to them as the kind of chameleon they are, or one's a male and one's a female. I'll say the girl or the boy sometimes, but I don't know. It's not like a dog. We yell his name and he's like, "Oh my God, the guy wants me," and he comes over.
Oh, I know. My husband's very good high school friend moved to Utah not so long ago too. And he has, I don't even know honestly what it is. It's a big, very big lizard that has a blue tongue, but it's about a foot long.
Okay.
And his name is Jabba from Jabba the Hutt.
Okay.
In Star Wars.
Hold on a second. Let's see if we can figure out what kind of a lizard is a foot long and has a blue tongue. Do we have any other diabetes stuff to talk about?
I don't know.
Hold on a second. What type of lizard is about a foot long and has a blue tongue?
The lizard you're describing sounds like a blue-tongued skink. They are known for their distinctive blue tongues and can grow to about a foot in length. They are common in Australia and are popular as pets.
All right. There it goes. Seems to be the answer. That's ChatGPT 4.0, my new best friend.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I just Googled it too, and it looks pretty much the same.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Well, then we got it. Mine is not a blue-tongued skink, but I do have chameleons. I really do like them. They're very relaxing. I don't know another way to say it. They move so slowly and so specifically and particularly that I just find looking at them to be relaxing. So they're in here with me, and every once in a while I turn around and I'm like, oh, look, they are so chill. And it's going to walk from there to there. It's going to take 20 minutes, and it doesn't care. It doesn't feel like, oh, I haven't posted an episode today, or I didn't send out the newsletter, or I have to put up an Instagram post. It's just I'm going to walk over there now. It'll take about a half an hour.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Must be nice, huh?
Oh, man. I want that so badly. My life is very frantic. So, yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you coming on and giving me this glucagon story. Listen, between me and you and everyone listening, I started doing this. There's a twofold reason, right? The first reason was I was doing these in-person events, and the more I spoke to people, the more I realized people don't not just carry glucagon, they don't know what it is. And that freaked me out. And then, I started working with Gvoke HypoPen, and, you're in a meeting with them. They buy ads from you. You talk to them. You ask them what their goals are, that kind of stuff, and I was like, what's your biggest hurdle? And then they said the same thing. People don't know about glucagon. And I'm like, get out of here. I'm like, that's what I think too. I was like, I talk to a lot of people and I keep seeing that. So one day I said to them, I'm like, I'm going to start doing very well may not be involved with you, like, with Gvoke, but I'm like, I'm going to start doing these like Glucagon stories. I want to hear about people using Glucagon so that other people can hear the stories and think, yeah, maybe I ought to get one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I met you in Austin last year. And at that point, I didn't know what the nasal spray was.
Okay.
So I was like, I did ask a question. I was like, what do you think would be good now? Because the Glucagon I'm carrying right now is expired and I have no idea what to get.
Yeah.
And that's what you told me about the nasal spray. So now that's what I have.
It's perfect. There's the Baqsimi, the nasal spray. There's Gvoke Glucagon, which is the injection. And like my daughter uses Gvoke, carries it. She's never actually used one, but she carries it and it's everywhere. Like you said, there's one at home. There's one on your person. She goes to school. There's one at school. Like, because, I mean, listen, it sucks, right? It sucks to buy something and then just throw it away. But I also think maybe it's like the greatest day of the year when you take your Glucagon and toss it in the trash and open up a new one and think to yourself, well, I'm so happy I didn't have to use that, But if you get to the point, like imagine the guy in your story is walking along with his buddy. He gets woozy. And instead of going, hey, go find a Coke, says to the guy, like, look, here's, a pen, like you need to hit me with this. Or maybe he could have done it himself even. I just got done interviewing a woman. She's got a Glucagon story that's crazy. Like her coworker helped her. You know what I mean? Like she had set up basically a delegate that she worked with, explained it to her. She had an emergency. Somebody came over and helped her. And,
that's nice.
You're not planning for something bad to happen. You're planning for if something happens. And it just makes a lot of sense to me. So
yeah, I'm glad also now that on social media, people are not even not scared or ashamed to just be like, hey, look, I've got type 1. That's what my life is. And a lot of people are just happy to see that they're not alone.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that sharing, we're doing this thing. I don't know when this will come out, so this might mess everything up. But like I announced a cruise, right? Like, I'm going to go on a cruise and you guys can all come. It's in June of 2025. It might be too late to buy tickets by the time you hear this. I have no idea. But point is that when I did it, I was like, oh, it's like everything else I set out to do. I'm like, I think there's enough people who would be interested in coming. And, we'll give talks on the cruise on like the sailing days and stuff, and people can vacation and meet each other and et cetera. And I think it'll be nice. But then you actually say it out into the world and watch people talk about it. And what they talk about overwhelmingly is getting to meet other people with type 1 diabetes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's really the really exciting thing for them. Like, my kids can meet other kids. I'm an adult. I want to meet other adults. Parents can meet adults who have been living with type 1 forever. And that's the thing that they are overwhelmingly excited about when I hear them talking about it.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me. So I moved to Utah, 6 months ago now? And I met a girl whose twin sister's fiance is type 1. Got diagnosed at 17, just like me. We're the exact same age now. In the police force, and started. So I got to meet him, and it was actually very nice to meet an adult with type 1, also my age, because the only people that I'd known were usually younger kids.
Yeah.
He started SWAT school, and on day 1, he had a very awful pump malfunction, ended up in the ER with liver and heart condition due to the high blood sugar, and he was not able to treat it on time because he was getting himself insulin, but the pump was just not giving it to him, and he didn't know. And so that's when I talked to him about the Omnipod, and he really wanted to. Now his insurance rejected it, so he switched his pump, and now he went from the Libre to the Dexcom. And every time I get to talk to him, I see him now every week or so, and I just, like, we were laughing yesterday on 4th of July. I was like, hey, we're eating some very crappy food. How much insulin did you get? And I kind of just bother him because it's actually fun. Like, he will bother me too. I was like, hey, I hope you get enough insulin for that because your diabetes is not going to help you. Like, well, yeah. So it's actually nice to be able to just share like those little fun moments. That would not be fun for my husband to hear that every single day, but it's actually nice to be able to share that.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
I even told him about
podcast
insulin. That was
please tell him about the podcast.
I did.
All right, good.
Sure
then what else did you tell him about? It's fine.
No, he had no idea that insulin could be like we both have the Humalog U100, but there's the U200 that exists. because he uses about 300 units every 2 days in his pump. And he was like, I cannot get the Omnipod because I need more insulin because the Omnipod is only 200 units in each. And I was like, well, if you ask for the U200, it's more concentrated. So you need less insulin to have the same effect. And he was like, what?
Great idea.
Blew his mind.
Yeah.
But again, the insurance said no. So that's another side of the problem.
Yeah, no, it's a different issue. Also, a GLP medication could maybe lower his needs too.
Yeah, so he's doing much better. Like when the first time I met him, he was very skinny and not using a lot of or not enough insulin and was running very, very high.
Mm-hmm.
And since I've met him, he put on a lot of weight and looks way more healthy. Well, healthier now. And
he's using the right amount of insulin that he needs.
Yeah, but he had some other things running around with on top of diabetes, which was making his figuring things out a bit more complicated. But now, I think I'm pretty sure he's also very happy to be able to just ask questions that he's not just asking his wife.
No, it's exactly what I take away from that is that you have a chance meeting with somebody and look at how it benefited him just to be able to talk to somebody else about it and hear ideas that he hadn't heard before.
Mm-hmm. We were actually in the parade for 4th of July, and he was like, hey, I hope you have enough juice boxes for the both of us because I don't have any. I'm like, don't worry, I've got you. Like, if you need something, just tell me, I'll throw you one to you. And
also bring juice boxes.
Yeah. We have that.
Do you think maybe 2 little kids with diabetes on my cruise will end up married one day?
I need to know the story then.
I'm going to have to keep this podcast going for like 20 more years because I'm going to want to hear those stories. Can you imagine if I'm like 70 and I'm like, hey, another episode of Juicebox Podcast. And I can barely get the words out because I'm old. And then I have 2 people come on and they're like, we met on your cruise in 2025. And I'll be like, that's crazy. That's what I want. I just want people to meet each other and to I'm just trying to imagine the comfort that would come from looking up and seeing a sea of people who have diabetes, right? Like you get that real diabetes camp feeling, but in this cruise setting where you're just like, wow, like everybody's just running around having a good time. They're swimming, they're dealing with people their stuff's going to fall off and they're going to have problems and they're all going to deal with it. And they're all going to know how to they're not going to have to once explain themselves to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really cool.
That's what I like about this group of friends I've made here is just because they knew that one guy with type 1, they didn't even have to just another one. What now?
Yeah. Well, that's excellent.
So we do some games and stuff and they're like, well, we are not going to put that drink for everybody because 2 of them might not end up in the right piece of mind at the end of the night if they drink it. So they know like whenever we have a cookout at home, we're not going to have just pure sugar. We're going to have sugar-free juice.
That's excellent. Hey, does the guy you met, does he carry Glucagon?
I showed him the nasal spray and he had no idea what it was.
Yep.
So I do believe he has some now. I don't know what it is, but because he's in the police force, like basically he was told and he has very thorough checkups every so often to make sure that he still takes care of himself, which is pretty nice.
Good.
But I also showed him those little test strips that you can put in the drink that turns brown if it has sugar, and his mind was completely blown away. And I love that thing. It saved me a few times.
Just great. It's just great to be able to share things. We see that's the kind of stuff like, somebody said, like, what are some of the talks going to be like? And I said, there'll be there's going to be a talk for kids, like where I'll be able to speak with kids and talk to them about questions they have and, make them understand where their parents are coming from, that kind of thing, which I think is important. But I even love this idea of sharing things that other people know about that maybe everyone wouldn't know about. Like, you're making me think that I should get like everyone to submit, like, here's a thing I use that's fantastic, or an overlay patch, or a tip or a trick or something like that. And then let people talk about it in front of each other. Because what a quick way to dump a whole bunch of information on a lot of minds all at once. Actually, I'm going to make a note about that. That's such a nice idea. Okay.
And when you do that, just give everybody a mic, or whoever talks gets a mic, and then you can actually record it and make a podcast out of it.
Well, listen, That seems like a lot of work, but I'll figure out a way to make it a podcast. Don't worry. Okay. All right. Well, Laura, I really appreciate you doing this and coming back again and sharing that story with me. It's an exhilarating story of you just wandering down the street all jacked up on like, I'm a lifeguard. I'm going to save somebody. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's a person here to save and no water.
Oh, pretty much.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The funny thing is during that lifeguard training, we were obviously in the pool and there was already a lifeguard at the pool because that was the requirements, I guess. And as soon as the guy saw that I had some kind of weird stuff on my skin that would potentially keep me alive, he was basically following me like next to the pool, walking next to the pool next to me to make sure that if I were to pass out, he could jump and save me. And I was like, buddy, I was training. I went to the France championship in swimming. Like, I'm pretty sure if you follow the other guy next to me, you may have more chance in saving him than just walking next to me because I'll be fine. It's not because I've got type 1 diabetes that I will pass out in the pool in front of you.
So somebody saw that and then you think they just sort of became like your guardian angel in their own head.
Yeah, no, they were scared that I would pass out.
Oh.
And as soon as they saw me swimming like 100 yards or whatnot, they're like, yeah, we should be good.
So interesting. Why is that everyone's so interesting? Somebody said to me the other day, like, don't you run out of things to talk about? I'm like, oh my God, no. Are you not like fascinated endlessly by people? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, I am. I was like, I
think in that situation, it's just that they didn't know. They didn't know much about diabetes to just know that, yes, you can figure it out even if you swim in the water. Like, it will be fine.
But it's interesting. Oh my God. All right. Well, thank you. How long were you a lifeguard for, by the way?
I actually never got to use my diploma because I moved to the US and it's something that I would need to renew every year, but it was a fun experience. Like, I have the knowledge. I don't have the actual like certificate because I have not renewed it, but I have the knowledge. So
all right. Well,
that can always be useful.
Maybe you can come on the cruise and be the lifeguard at the pool.
Hey, there you go. Send me the details.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
Take care. The conversation you just heard was sponsored by Dexcom and the Dexcom G7. Learn more and get started today at dexcom.com/juicebox. Today we heard from Aaron, who will be participating in his own Blue Balloon Challenge. Follow at Medtronic Diabetes on Instagram and use the hashtag Blue Balloon Challenge on social to see inspiring videos from Aaron, Leah, and other people like yourself living with diabetes. You can also join the challenge, make your own video, or get your support squad together and show how you're keeping your balloon in the air on top of everything else in life. Touched by Type 1 sponsored this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. Check them out at touchedbytype1.org on Instagram and Facebook. Give them a follow. Go check out what they're doing. They are helping people with type 1 diabetes in ways you just can't imagine. The Diabetes Variables series from the Juicebox Podcast goes over all the little things that affect your diabetes that you might not think about. From travel and exercise to hydration and even trampolines. Juiceboxpodcast.com. Go up in the menu and click on Diabetes Variables. Hey kids, listen up. You've made it to the end of the podcast. You must have enjoyed it. You know what else you might enjoy? The private Facebook group for the Juicebox Podcast. I know you're thinking, Facebook, Scott, please. But no. Beautiful group, wonderful people, a fantastic community. Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes on Facebook. Of course, if you have Type 2 or you're touched by diabetes in any way, you're absolutely welcome. It's a private group, so you'll have to answer a couple of questions before you come in. We'll make sure you're not a bot or an evildoer. Then you're on your way. You'll be part of the family. I can't thank you enough for listening. Please make sure you're subscribed or following in your audio app. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. WrongWayRecording.com.